All right, we've unmuted, I
Oh
hope.
wow, yeah. Isn't it? Didn't I set up the rule to unmute after once the countdown? I said that, didn't I? I did
In
say
your
that.
head, maybe in
Okay,
your head, and then
yeah.
thought,
Well, you see, I shaved off my hair just because I want my thoughts to be clearer.
well,
Okay.
that's not
Wow.
working. Clearly, it was
And this is
with
how
all
we think on Focus on You. We focus so hard that we don't say things, we just think things. Ain't
Oh,
that right, Oscar?
absolute.
That's a prime
Deanna,
part of.
good afternoon, morning, wherever we are in
Oh,
the
is that more? It's afternoon. It's afternoon in the Northeast, and it's not
I am in
afternoon
New
anywhere else.
Orleans and it is still morning.
It's still more. It's New Orleans. There we
morning
go.
in New Orleans.
We have a very special guest on Focus on You today, and of course, you can see her right there,
It's
Dana.
totally
Right?
Oscar.
And we're very excited to have her because she was just on the Ula Corner with Mona Ostrowski, and it was a great program. We had to carry it over. I had a whole other plan for today, but after hearing her talk about just her story and really some of the thick journeys that she's taken personally, I figured, I mean, we need to just continue the conversation, and so I appreciate you taking the time to do that, Damien.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm
So
good.
tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a bit about what you do, and then we'll continue.
Okay. So, my name is Deanna, and what I do is I coach women who have been through trauma and abuse to get back to their beautiful and free selves. And the way that I do that is through a few pillars that we put into place in my coaching that allows them to work through whatever their triggers are and whatever their holdback is, because the root of it is usually pretty much always the same. And in this room where we're talking, that focus on you, and that's usually where the focus needs to be. And so that's what I do. And I call myself a transformation strategist because everybody's story is different, but I can help you strategize through the processes that you need to do and the work that you need to do to get to what you want. And that's an individual basis. So that's what I do.
That's amazing. I love that. So you challenge people to really look in the mirror. That's basically your mission.
Yeah, my mission is to allow these women just like me to love themselves. And that sounds like such an easy thing, but it's not. It's way easier said than done, especially if you've experienced some of these traumas, because really we internalize them. And I'm not saying men don't either. I just happen to be female, so that resonates with
We
me.
noticed that.
It's the
That was
hair,
very
right?
yeah. The hair did it. The hair did it.
uh, So, but yeah, so and my mission is that because I want to help people who have been through what I've been through, because I've learned how to come through it, and I've learned how to, not just survive and not just to thrive. I have purpose and fulfillment, and I think that's what other women are looking for that have been through what I've been through. So I'm here for it.
And that's what we've learned with the documentary Amazing Grace, the six women that were interviewed that went through this trauma, found a way to not only, get through it, but thrive and use it for betterment by explaining to people we've gone through this, we can help you how to get through it also, which is, amazing.
I agree,
Yeah.
and I think that that's a really that's something that comes out of gratitude, which I think we're going to talk about. So, yeah.
Yes. You had mentioned on the previous program about your journey from forgiveness to gratitude, and I definitely want to talk about that. But self-love seems to be a very hot subject now because I think COVID has kind of like help people focus in more as to what they personally need, and I believe that's one of the benefits. That's one of the benefits of that was, I saw a documentary. It wasn't a documentary, it was an interview. And there was a gentleman that was a stockbroker, and he was making a lot of money, right? I mean, and sometimes that's what we focus on. Oh man, I'm making a lot of money. This has gotta be the right route because I'm making a lot of money. And during COVID, he had some time to spend with his kids. And in during that time, he realized his kids were growing up and experiencing things without him. And that's when he got that aha moment, like, where's my true wealth right now? Right? Is it in are my kids going to grow up thinking, where was dad when, where was mom when? And then, by the time time goes like this, and before you know it, your kids are working and they're in college and they're away, and they really don't need you like they needed you when they were 7 and 8 and 9 years old. So
Yeah, I
you
think
know go ahead.
it's a fallacy to think that money is the currency, because it's
Yeah.
not. The currency is time, the currency is energy,
Mhm.
and that is what we have. We can trade that for money, right? But that's not what we want to do, because
Right,
if we're
right.
trading that for money, we're missing out on the things that matter, because real
Mhm.
wealth is not money.
No, no, it's not.
A,
Go ahead.
a friend of mine, Rick Gabrielli, wrote a book with his wife called The Currency of Connection. And it's all about, that's where real
Connecting.
currency is, connecting.
Mhm.
Right, but what do you need to connect with people?
You,
Time.
as Ransom says, you have to drop the mask
Yeah,
and
but you need time,
connect.
right?
You need time. You need time. You need time. Yeah.
So
No, it
yeah.
is. I love to throw this out there. So, how do you manage your time? Is it, and I'm gonna, it's a setup question. So basically, I'm gonna throw it out there. Is it that you manage? Is it you manage your time, like where you make time or you have time?
Mm.
I like to throw that out there. What do you guys think?
Well, what I tell people is you don't make time. You can't make time. You take time.
Ooh,
And people
I love
take
that.
time for the things that are a priority to them. So do you know what your priorities are? Do you know what matters to you most? Do you know why you want to do the things that you want to do? Because
Mm,
if you know why, then you're prioritizing your time. I have people in my family, they have a lot of kids, and I say you need to do this or you need to do that, and I don't have time for that. I'm so busy. And I'm
right.
like, okay, I would prefer you to tell me that that's not a priority for me right now. And I want you to say it and tell me how it feels. When I ask you to take some time for yourself and
Mm,
do the work, and you say, I don't have time for that. I don't know how you meditate every day. I don't have time for that. Whatever it is, and you tell me that's not a priority for me right now. Now, how does that sit with you? Because it sits a little different. So we just need to make sure that we're working through the filter of whatever our big thing in life is, whatever our why, whatever our purpose is. Make sure we're working through that filter. And if we filter all our decisions through that, we're going to have time for the things that matter. That's my take.
yeah, I totally
Does that
agree with
answer your
that.
question?
Yeah, you were talking, but we weren't hearing you. So it's
I
like,
had background noise with garbage trucks back here, so I
okay,
shut off the
okay.
microphone.
But what were you saying? You said you were saying something.
I said, did that answer your question? Do you make
Oh,
time or
oh
do you?
no,
Or,
no. Well, no. I was looking for your response because you always have something to
oh
say.
yeah,
But
well, yeah, time. We have 24 hours. We can't add a 25th, so we can't really make time. And what Deanna says is you prioritize the time that you have. How important is this hour to me? What am I going to accomplish in this hour? That's what I'm making a priority.
when I think people use the term "make time," I think they're talking about like if I have if a like for instance, I'll give an example. I'm working from home, right? And so if I'm working and something happens, do I just no, I'm working, I'm focused, right? And like, my kid could be like putting their hand in the
Garbage
In
trash.
the
disposal.
toaster. It's like,
Yeah, but you're like, no, I'm working, I'm focused. You're so focused in on one thing that you totally are missing out on what's going on in the background. And I think that's a dangerous place to be, where you are so tunnel vision, like you said, where you're so tunnel vision, where, oh, is that important? Oh, me focusing on me? Oh, no, no, no. That's not a priority.
And let me say too, when I understand what most people mean when they say that they need to make time for something, they do mean that they got to buy out time for something else. They got to take it. I understand that
Mhm.
that's what they mean, but that's not what they say. And I just feel very strongly that our words matter, right? Our words matter. How we
Mhm.
say something to ourselves gets translated a certain way in our bodies and in our minds and in our
Mhm.
subconscious. And when we say make time, in our minds, we think that we are somehow expanding something that's not expandable. So that's why I try to change the dialogue. Take time makes it a little bit different. It gives it just a little bit different meaning, and it's really the real meaning. We
Mhm.
need to take it. I don't know
Yeah.
where you're taking it from, but we need to take it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense, because words are actual images. And so when you say something, you're actually forming it in your mind and interpreting it. So yeah, you're right. It's really important
All right, if
that
I'm going to
we.
make dinner, I'm creating something out of these ingredients. I'm making
Mhm.
something. That's not what
Yeah,
we're doing with time.
exactly. Now let's focusing on what you were talking about with making time for yourself. And I what I really enjoyed about your last conversation with Mona was when you spoke about your journey from forgiveness to gratefulness, and it was very touching. I want you to kind of like just kind of repeat that, because I think that a lot of people could connect with that.
Yeah, so I'll back up since not everybody heard that and kind of
Mhm.
give you my story and where I come from and how I wound up in gratitude and why I wasn't in gratitude. So and I don't like to dwell on my story, but it's taken a long time for me not to identify myself as my story so
Mhm.
that now I'm able to speak about it and share so that others can benefit.
Mhm.
So my story starts with the fact that, like I married my high school sweetheart and, we were married for 18 years, but it was an abusive relationship and it was physically abusive. It was emotionally and mentally abusive. I was gaslighted. I've been in the hospital a couple of times. It was an abusive relationship
Wow.
that I myself did not end. You know, we went through 18 years and then he cheated and he left. And the reason we talked about this and the reason why I put this forth is we have so many beliefs that are put into us from our environment, our upbringing, the culture we grow up
Culture.
in. All of that contributes to our beliefs. Why did I fight for a marriage like this? Why did I fight for that? Because I believe that a marriage was forever, that kids needed their dad, that he was a good person way down deep inside, and he needed help, and you don't just give up on that. This was all these beliefs that are just not real. They're not real. And you shouldn't stay in a situation, for anybody who's listening out there. Please don't stay in a situation. Even if you're capable of saving that marriage, don't stay in a situation like that. You're not helping yourself. You're definitely not helping your kids and showing or modeling what your kids need to know. But that was the situation I was in. Okay. And that's what happened.
Mhm.
And when I went through that and came out of the other end of that, a brother in law stepped up and said, "Oh, well, I'm going to, take the kids under my wing, especially your son. We're going to hang out. I'll have him come to work with me sometimes. He can have a little extra money for his cell phone, whatever. And, we like the same music, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to just step up and help." And I really needed that because I was, there was a couple of years after that that was
Vulnerable.
pretty rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, So he steps up, and then really what happens is he manipulates my children, introduces them to drugs, and molests my daughter. So that's the story
Wow.
in the shortest way possible. It was several years of just chaos, spiraling, and my self-worth, okay, my self-love, my belief of myself coming through that situation, it was gone before the guy left, right? It was gone before my ex-husband left because it was
Mhm.
beaten out of me, right? Literally, emotionally, it was just gone. And then coming out of that, I had so much resentment when this happened with my children that I didn't protect my kids, that I resented my husband, my ex-husband, who didn't stay and do what he needed to do for his kids, and think, that probably wouldn't have happened because he trusts nobody. So he wouldn't have been as big of a part of my kids' lives. I
Mhm.
resent the brother-in-law who we trusted for over 10, 12 years in
Mhm.
our family and in our life. There was just a lot of really heavy, heavy emotional baggage
Mhm.
that I was carrying. And in that process, and coming out of that process, I always took immediate reaction. I took immediate action. So let me just say this real quick. When I discovered this with my kids, I did take immediate action, and this person was in jail for something like 14 years. He's out now, but just know that there was some justice in there, and that he was removed from the situation, because really the healing could not happen if he were not removed. So that did happen. But it brings me to some of my bigger goals. We'll talk about that after. But so in that process, I was introduced to ULA. And ULA is a framework that helps you kind of zoom out, look at the 7 key areas of your life: fitness, finance, family, field, your career, faith, friends, and fun. You zoom out, you look at these key areas, then you zoom in, you do some work about where you are in those areas and where you want to go and how you're going to get there. And then in that process, you find out things that block you from what you want to do and things that accelerate what you want to do. And I got this book in 2015, and I met the guys. They signed the book after I went to one of their workshops, and I was like, I'm all in. This is amazing. Like, I want to coach this. Why don't y'all have a coaching program? So I signed up for another health and life coaching program just so that I could use this framework with my clients. And as I'm working on this framework, the next year I go to their big experience, their big workshop that they do once a year. It's 2 days, it's intensive, it's hands on, it's really, they pour into you. And as I'm going through this, and I know you guys are going to have on the other program, Dr. Dave, talk about how he recognized the need to be grateful and have faith and to be grateful in everything. And he gave his experience, and I won't give it all away, but he has a huge reason not to have gratitude, yet he had to find gratitude in everything. And that's what he talks about. So while I'm working through this, I'm in the situation I'm in. I'm bawling, crying, because gratitude is supposed to be an accelerator, but I'm completely blocked. I'm like, I don't have to have gratitude for this, and you can't make me, like a 3-year-old, stomping my feet. I was pissed. I don't know if I can say that.
Mhm.
I was really ticked off because I felt like, no, I don't have to have gratitude for this. I could have gratitude about things for me and the things that I went through, but this was my kids, and I don't have to. You can't make me. But he didn't let up on me, and he didn't let me off the hook. He came and coached me personally, and he said, you just have to find it. You have to figure it out. Because if you don't, you're going to live in a place that you don't have room to grow. And I said, okay. I left there, and I worked an entire year to find gratitude in this situation. And it was not easy, and it did take me the whole year. So I will say that. And it started with, and this is where we talked about this, is the process that I then created and add to, because of the fact that I coach people through traumas and triggers, that I add to the framework specifically in this arena to be able to help them. And there are 5 pillars. And the first one is forgiveness. And that was a revelation. I went through a couple of months trying to figure out, well, I can't get to gratitude if I can't forgive. And how do you forgive a man that you trusted and lived with for all those years who was abusive? How do you forgive this person who just destroyed your kids' lives forever? And I mean forever. How do you forgive that? Well, in my brain, forgiveness meant absolution. And the difference between forgiveness and absolution is huge. Absolution, we don't have the power to absolve anybody from their wrongdoing, from their sins. That's not in our power. We don't absolve people. Forgiveness, on the other hand, allows you to say, hey, that's on you, and I'm letting it go. So forgiveness means, okay, you're a sick individual. You need help. I feel bad for you in that case, but I'm not accepting you into my life. You will never be a part of it. And I'm going to let that be on you. And I'm ridding myself of the resentment and the anger that has been taking up so much space. And I realized that that's what was happening. I was angry and resentful all the time. It wasn't outwardly. It was just living right here, right under the surface, all the time. All the time. I wasn't healthy. I was skinny. It was a really neat side effect, but it was not healthy. But it was bad. And when I was working through this, I worked through that part of it. And what happened is it started coming backwards after I worked through that and wound up on me. And I was like, really? How do I forgive myself for failing my children in this big, big way? And that was not easy. And the first step I did in that process was to actually approach my children and to, have a talk with them about this and ask for forgiveness. Ask them how they felt about it. What did they feel about the role that I played? And the thing is, and this is the part, like, I've been able to get through my story, but this is the part that always gets me because my children are so amazing. Like, they're amazing. And they have no resentment towards me whatsoever. And that makes me cry, right? That makes me go, okay, if they can see that I was doing my level best, then I need to be able to let go of that in myself. And so I did. And I'm not going to say I never struggle with that. I still have issues with it now, or I wouldn't be probably crying about it. But it is the truth. And that forgiveness opened up all the space, all the energy for me to let go of the anger and resentment and blame that I just kept cycling through. My whole body kept cycling through. And when I got through that, and only when I got through that, was where I was able to start working on gratitude. So that's the beginning of it. Do you want me to keep going? Because I can plow.
Okay, so now we have I have a couple stops. I was like, okay, keep your mouth shut, Bill. Wait till her to finish. But it's like, first of all, I don't know about you, Oscar, but my emotion when she trusted the in-law uncle, and he took advantage of the situation. That, I don't know, that's just still gets under my skin, because there's some, and this is why I believe that if people don't go through the journey that you went through, that bitterness develops and frustration develops. And even in the area of not forgiving themselves, and in the judgment of yourself, you end up not being able to forgive other people. So that unforgiveness starts to pile up because the disappointment starts to pile up. And so because you haven't released any, it's like one of those hot air balloons. Because you haven't released anything, it builds up to the point where, you know, it can pop. And that's where people can just lose it. I mean, you know, they go in the store and somebody takes their parking spot. Oh my God.
The federal case, right? You don't know where that came from.
It's like, I mean, that's how some people can, that's why some things can go from very simple, and you know, when you watch it on the news, like, oh, he shot this person because of this, but you don't know that this guy has been molested, this guy has been, you know, his wife cheated on him, and you know, and all those things just kind of stayed in one spot, and just one more betrayal.
Yeah, you're seeing the result, not the cause. That's
right.
That's
the end result.
What I'm getting from Deanna is, you know, that the way I look at it is, you're like a glass, and you're full, and you can't put anything in there until you get rid of something.
That's it.
So you got to empty out some of the ugly so you have room for something else. Because if you're full and you're mad and you're guilty and every, you know, worst emotion, how can you heal? You got to, like, you know, get some out. So
Yeah,
you went through number one. I'm writing it down as forgiveness. So what's number two?
Okay. So number two is gratitude, right? So once you get through this process and get to the bottom, right, you're really working yourselves backwards into love, right? Loving yourself. So the way you work backwards is you start with forgiveness and then you move to gratitude. So how do I find gratitude in this situation? Well, after I was able to release all of the burden that was just tied up and I had some space, whether it was emotionally and mentally, I could start going, okay, well, what came from this? Well, I learned one thing. I learned that my kids are freaking resilient. Do they not have problems? No, they don't not have problems. Of course they have problems. Do they have residual effects from this? Yes, they do. But my kids are freaking resilient. They're amazing. The mistakes they've made, the successes they've made, it's all amazing. Okay. And when I learned that, and when I started looking at things, the gratitude came in that the strength, the gratitude came from looking at the situation and recognizing that all the things that I had to go through and grow through have brought me to coaching, have brought me to this passion of helping other people who have been through this situation. It is not, it's not a unique situation. This happens to people, but it is a smaller market than just people who have, you know, a normal upbringing and have traumas and triggers and anxiety. It's a little bit different. And so the fact that it brought me to that, and the recognition that there's so much to be helped. And then I have this huge dream that's out there to really create programs. And I don't want to create them myself. I want to be a six-figure giver. I want to be able to fund the programs that are needed to help people after the time of impact. And none of this would have come out of it if I hadn't gone through this. And it's something that's so needed. So I look at my kids, 30 and 28, and I go, okay, my daughter has dealt with this when she went into college and took a course in college that she had to take because she's an educator, and to recognize this in kids and recognize the signs and be able to advocate. And then she took the course 3 or 4 times because it was like therapy for her. Okay. Well, so then she has a kid, and then she has 2 kids, but you have kids that brings up something else. You will be, this will keep coming up in their lives and in mine as a parent over and over and over again. And there is nothing out there for it. Nothing except traditional mental health care, which you, if your insurance covers it, if it doesn't, if you can afford it, if they're in the right arena and can help you in this specific regard, it's just not out there. And it should be accessible to everybody. It doesn't matter your income. It doesn't matter if you have insurance. People need this help. And they need it at all these different periods in life, and they should be able to approach it. I don't know what that looks like. Like I said in the last one, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if that's creating a program with a nonprofit where people can just come in and get the help, or if it's a retreat center. I don't know what it looks like, but it needs to be out there. And I just feel like the universe is going to make that happen. The more that I'm talking and the more that I get my programs up and running, and the money that I make that I can put back into this world.
Vision.
So
yeah.
I keep going back to something Tony Robbins always says: things happen for you, not to you. And people keep taking on, oh, this happened to me. And turn that around. I was like, okay, so what are you learning from it? It happened for you to learn, to grow, and to get past it. So that mind shift, it happened for me to learn and grow.
Right. And that is what takes you out of victim mentality and into gratitude. It happened for you.
Now I want to show you this. This is the story of Joseph comes to mind, because it's like his brothers throw him in a pit, right? He gets sold into slavery. While he was a slave, he gets promoted as a slave. He gets lied on and gets locked up in prison. Okay, I mean, all through all of this pain, all this betrayal, and because, and in the end, I will go to all the way to the end of the story. He forgives his brothers, which frees him, even though he accomplished being the second most powerful man in Egypt. He had to forgive his brothers and just to be free.
And what was the how it happened for him was that he saved the nation of Israel.
There you go. Exactly.
He saved the nation of Israel because that's how it happened for him. You wound up in this position, and then here comes this famine, and you are in the right place. If you hadn't gone through that, would you be there?
It. No. He would not have been
likely.
No.
So it's an amazing example, right? You know?
Yeah.
So that's how the gratitude part came in. You know, being able to then say, okay, I worked through what I had to work through, and I am now understanding the lessons. You're not going to understand them while it's happening. Let's just face it.
No.
It would be nice if we could just snap our fingers and do it.
Exactly.
But it's not the case,
exactly.
You know? Unless you got some little genie in the lamp. You know, I do believe we all have magic in us, but it ain't that good. But that being said, once I got through those two aspects, then I moved to my inner self-talk, because that language was still with me, right? That language was still there. And like I said earlier, words matter. And we are words in our head 24/7. We talk to us more than anybody. What is the voice that's going on inside your head, and what is that voice always saying to you? You know, does it say I'm a worrier, or does it say I'm a warrior? Right? We need to change the way we talk to ourselves. And we talked about it in the past show, but I'll say it again here, is that when we talk to ourselves the way we do, if we heard someone else, because like I don't like to say, oh, you wouldn't talk to your kids like that, or you wouldn't talk to your spouse like that. We take a lot out on our families a lot of times, because we take that for granted and know they're just going to be there. But how would you feel if somebody else, another kid, a teacher, talked to your kid the way you talk to yourself? What would you do? Like, I'd be showing up in that office and like, excuse me, what? Because I come from a neighborhood, okay, that knows how to kill people. I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying. Like, I'm like, no, you know, I go into Mama Bear mode, and you know, and I got some stiletto heels, and they hurt. They hurt. Okay? So you go into very protective mode, right? So why would we be okay with us talking to us like that? It's not.
You know what? If
people heard out loud what you say to yourself, you know, you would be committed. You would like, there would be a warrant out for that kind of language towards anybody. And we've gone through this in prior shows, that this programming, this subconscious, is put in our head when we're 7 years old.
Right.
And we're still running on this 7-year-old programming. We update our phones looks like every month now to get new programming. But the operating system in the head is from, don't touch that, don't go outside, don't talk to strangers, don't do this. You're not gonna, no, you can't, you're gonna fall, you're gonna hurt yourself, yada yada yada, going off in our head. And that 7-year-old is still running the show.
And it's also your and I love how you're going into this, Deanna, that value. It's like sometimes if when we don't see value in ourselves, we're abusing ourselves in here. It opens doors for other people to abuse us. And it opens doors for us to not even recognize when other people are abusing us, right? Because we are so accustomed to doing it to ourselves that somebody else doing it is like, oh, that's normal.
So I like to talk about this inner child and the two different things, because we have our programming and our traumas that are just, everybody has it. Because our parents are trying to protect us in the best way that they know how. And the problem is we internalize it however we internalize it, right? Whether I'm not good enough, or I need to learn how to be quiet, I need to be silent, I need to be invisible, I need to overachieve, all these things to get acceptance. We're always just doing what we need to do to protect ourselves and get acceptance and love from the caretakers. And that's what we do. There's a difference between that trauma and the unraveling and the reparenting that we have to do, and acute trauma. Acute trauma happens instantaneously, and it happens in a traumatic and very violent way. Women who have been raped, abuse, have somebody that you love, that loves you, break your arm. I'm sorry, that is an acute and immediate demarcation, and it's a different type of trauma. And it chemically changes your systems, your nervous system, everything changes. And I lived in a fight or flight all the time. It never ended. It was never any calm. I don't care if I was sleeping. I jolted out of my sleep. So like electrical shocks in my body for, I can't even remember how many years. Like, I got so used to it that I didn't fully wake up. But if I would go spend a weekend with my sister and she was in the bed with me, she's like, you're jumping all night. It just gets in your body and it's trapped there. And you have to do the work to get it out. You have to do, there's so much work that I've done. But these 5 pillars. So, when we're dealing, especially here with an acute trauma, right? So you have forgiveness, you have gratitude, and you have your soundtracks, the way you talk to yourself. And I like to use that. John A. Cuff wrote a book called Soundtracks. And I love the terminology. I have done this work, but he wrote a whole book about it, and he does a lot of research in his book. And it talks about the records you play over and over and over and over and over and over and over in your head. It's constant. And so you have to be able to get those records right into your consciousness and see them for what they are, and then flip them. We need the side B, right? So I don't care if you put it on your mirror. And one of the things we talked about, brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand, right? Because when you do that, you're not doing it out of habit, you're thinking about it. So you're moving everything to the prefrontal cortex, and you're thinking. And then when you're thinking about it and you're reading your I am statements, instead of saying I am a worrier, I'm now looking at it going, I am a warrior. I am amazing. I have a lot of strength. I am beautiful. I love you. It's a really hard thing when you do a mirror work, but you do this while you're brushing your teeth, and it's putting all of those thoughts consciously here, so that once they get processed consciously, they can start moving back into your subconscious and replace those things that were there. That's what we need to do. We need to weed out the BS. I'm sorry. I love God, but my mouth sometimes does me. All right. So, but it's true, right? Like, I
Mhm.
mean, that's what it is. It's BS. It's not true. And we need to get it out. So that's the third step. The fourth step is self care. If you aren't taking care of yourself, if you aren't going, okay, I'm worth eating right. Don't give me organic food costs too much. I'm worth, if that's your thing, I'm worth the organic food. Okay, not everybody's thing, whatever. I'm worth the 30 minutes, that 2% of my day. I'm worth the 30 minutes of walking, moving my body, meditating, whatever it is you want to do. If you can't give yourself 2%, back up a step. Get back into that self talk. Okay, because we are worth the 2%, okay, or more, but at the very minimum. All right. And you need to get into that caring for yourself, right? And I'm not talking the fluff. Like you said at the beginning, self care and self love, they're all over the place out there.
Yeah.
It's not what I'm telling you. What's out there is not what I'm talking about. Self care is caring for yourself. That means sometimes you delay gratification to get a better outcome. Out there, self care is instant gratification. That's not self care. That's not self care. Sometimes it is. Sometimes a spa day is self care. Sometimes a full day on the golf course is self care, right? But you need to make sure you're being intentional and you're filling up your cup with your self care. It's not fluff. Okay? And that's the fourth thing. And the fifth thing is loving yourself. You're not going to get to loving yourself if you don't do all these other things, right? Because you
Yeah.
can't love yourself if you haven't fixed your self talk. You can't love yourself if you haven't forgiven yourself. You can't love yourself if you're not living in gratitude for everything, right? You can't love yourself if you're not caring for yourself because yourself is going to say you're a liar because you're not taking care of me.
You are going to call you out.
Yes, because your brain is going to have a conflict. Even
Mhm.
if you don't verbally or intellectually realize it, your brain and your emotions and your feeling and your energy are going to have a conflict. It's like when you're living outside of your values.
Mhm.
If you're living outside of your values, there's going to be a conflict, an internal conflict that's never going to be resolved until you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. I
So it's
agree.
exactly the same. And
Uh,
that's how you get to the self love.
that is those 5 steps are phenomenal. Those are phenomenal five
And I get really
steps.
excited about it. I'm sorry.
I know, no, no, no. Hey, listen,
Maybe
you,
You got to bring the
you,
energy level up a little
but
bit, yeah.
but
You know,
the truth is,
I need to stand up.
if you weren't passionate about it, it wouldn't be your message.
Right. This is true.
Yeah, it wouldn't be your message if you were just like, well, number one is, I mean, that's it, your passion shows it's your message, right?
I'm passionate about it because I did it
Right.
and it works.
So
There you go.
how do you help people? Like, what do people need to do to reach you in order for you to help them? Because
So
we're
with
getting
with
close.
this type of what I'm talking about, and to do this work, really the one-on-one coaching or events, speaking engagements, stuff like that, where I can really get in front of people and sound this in, because you're not going to do this on your own. I mean, I didn't do this on my own. I'm going to just let you know, nobody does anything on their own.
That's it.
Even when I was going through this and figuring this out, I also was in a coaching school. So, well, I didn't have coaching. So I told you I joined a health and life coaching institution and got a certification. And through that, I was being coached the entire time. I was being coached the entire time. You're learning. You have to invest in yourself. Again, a sign that you love yourself is that you invest in yourself. Your growth and your personal needs, you need to invest in it. So for me, my programs are very individualized. That's really the best way. I do have some cookie cutter programs because obviously there are people who need to be introduced to coaching who just don't understand it. And we also have an app. So you can self-guide yourself for less than $2 a day. I mean, honestly, there is no reason that you don't start doing this work. And in this app, you get access to a community, and I am the leader of the community. So you will have access to me. So fast track it, one-on-one coaching. Take your time with it and pace yourself. Go with the app. It's fine. There are so many avenues available, that there's no reason why you can't, like, just get started. Just take a step.
That is amazing, and I'm so grateful that we had an opportunity to talk to you,
I'm thankful
Deanna,
for being here.
and it's great. I could talk about this all day, but focus on you has to end at some point, and
Really?
yeah, I know. Like
That's sad.
Oscar, it's Oscar's fault. It's all Oscar's fault.
You know what? I'll take it.
Yeah, it's all you, Oscar. It's all you. But again, thank you so much,
Oh,
Deanna,
you're welcome.
and we would love to have you back at some
Oh,
point.
yeah,
So
sure.
yes,
Let me
please,
know.
let's do this again.
And just look for me on social media, Deanna Wellness.
Yes,
Pretty much anywhere. Any site,
anywhere.
Deanna Wellness.
Oh,
I'm active
nice,
mostly on
nice.
Instagram, but that's my name everywhere.
So
Because
like and
spelling
share.
it's too long.
Like and share, Deanna. I like the name. Like the name. Yeah. So I really appreciate it again, and thank you guys for watching. Those of you who are committed to focus on you. And tomorrow night on the Bishop's Corner, we will be talking about. Our subject line is "What is Man," and we're talking about the emotional journeys men have to take as well. So we know it's a little bit different, but it's
It is.
something that we definitely have to talk about. So thank you guys again for watching. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye. 1 second. Oopsie. What's going on?
Welcome to live TV.
How to stop?
We're waiting on you, Phil.
Yes, yes, sir. There you go.